The next game is the Golden State Warriors and Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, this all depends on whether Ja Morant can play. It looks like, I think it was Reggie Miller last night was the guy who broke the news that he's probably out for the rest of the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
which could mean, tonight. I don't really know what that statement meant. Like, he wouldn't be available for the conference final should they win the next two in a row.
I believe
Uh,
it's the rest of the playoffs. Is he's doubtful for the rest of the playoffs, regardless of whether or not they
wow.
advance. Yeah.
Now the coach made a statement saying that he didn't answer the question, what did the MRI reveal, and
Mm-hmm.
he said that the doctors are still continuing efforts basically to find a diagnosis and a prognosis. Which to
Mm-hmm.
me, my takeaway from that, reading between the lines again, which I shouldn't do, is that the MRI was negative. So then that made me think, well, gee, he might play. And for anybody that's listening to this, if you do like the Grizzlies tonight without Ja Morant in the lineup, and you probably want to bet him now, because if somehow he miraculously shows up on the court and is playing, the line is not going to be plus 4.5 any longer. It's going to be a lot closer to pick him, I think. Take it away, Ronald. Tell me what you think about that idea, and what percentage you think that Morant will actually be on the floor tonight. And then,
Mm-hmm.
go over your analytics too, with the fact that they're 20-6 now
Mm-hmm.
without Morant in the lineup. So does it really matter if he's playing?
Yeah, this is. I mean, obviously, this is tough. I mean, John Moran is such a big part of this team. We look at that trend of 20-5 prior to the last game, 20-5 straight up without Ja. But during that show, I did mention the postseason is a lot different than the regular season. The motivation, like I mentioned earlier, right? The motivation just hits a little bit different for the opposing team. They're not going to be looking ahead to the next matchup because you're really looking for the championship. You want to get to the next round, and you only got one team ahead of you. You're not going to be looking to a different team on the road or at home. You're really just one game at a time. When you hit to the playoffs, the coaching mentality, the motivation, everything is a little bit different because it's really tough to replace a player in the postseason versus regular season. The regular season really it's an 82 game season. You just want to make it to the playoffs. In the playoffs, you got to take every game as serious as possible. And you hear it in the post game interviews. The Warriors talked about, it doesn't matter if Ja's in or out. We're gonna game plan like he's playing, and things like that. So it's just a lot different here. As far as this game specifically, I think we saw that the Grizzlies are still able to compete for a majority of the game, and the Warriors really just took over in that fourth quarter. Um, to me, this might be another spot where the Grizzlies can stay with them early, and then take the Warriors late. Your live in game strategy could be in play here, or even just take the Grizzlies first half or the Warriors second half. There's just different ways to play this one out. Another thing to know is how the Grizzlies play without Ja at home versus on the road. Their offense actually picks up a notch at home, but their defense takes a hit. As road dogs without Ja, they're averaging 105 and allowing 105 per game. You saw that in the last game where it went under the closing total. At home, it's a totally different story. They're averaging 119.6, allowing 111.8. Also a 5 game sample size. But as far as the look on the side, I'm not sure if I could trust it at this point. But I do like the fact that they play better offensively at home without him. So the look for me would be towards the over in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too, and I'll go over that in-game betting strategy. I do have the slides here. Just deleted a few to get it below the 50 megabyte limitations, but we'll make sure that we have no limitations for this show because it doesn't deserve any limitations. But we're getting some activity in the chat room the last couple of days. Everybody's been pretty good here. Just wanted to give shout outs to Ninja 13 again. Is active. He's been active all week. This guy. And the Celtics -7 for a better value.
Oh, he's
Maybe that's
talking
the
about
alternative number.
yeah, it's an outline. You probably get plus money
Yeah.
on that.
Yep. And then let's see, Kevin Riley made a big bet. Um, he actually gave, Kevin Riley's been one of our longtime show listeners and watchers. So big shout out to him. Dave here. Yeah, well, it was a 30-point blowout, but until uh, yeah, the Suns started playing basketball and outscored them 80-42 from that point on. Yours truly was pretty nervous. You know, I almost had 3 IPAs last night instead of my normal 2. I was that nervous. And it brings up a point, Ron. When we put out these big plays, these 5%ers, especially on a $2 Tuesday, we take it seriously. Everybody at Wager Talk Sports Memo, and I've talked to the guys at Wager Talk as you have, and they put out a big play like that, and it's personal because we want you to win. It's just not
Yeah.
like, hey, we got your $2. The heck with it. I mean, we actually
That
really
$2
take it
Tuesday.
personally.
Yeah, the $2 Tuesday is super important because obviously there's more people buying it because it's a cheap price, but it's also a way to showcase our capping ability, right? We're gonna give out the best that we can for that day or that week on that Tuesday. We're giving you our best analysis, our best play, and it really is to show, this is what we do for a living. Um, there's Dave out here on the comments talking about, what our long-term records are. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't able to last for a long period of time, in my opinion. So, it really is $2 Tuesday. It's super important for all of us at Sports Momo and Wager Talk to be able to just give our best out. That's my take on it. I just feel like it shouldn't go overlooked for being able to win your 5% plays, and especially on $2 Tuesday. That's huge.
Yeah, I agree. Dave has a good question here. I actually do know the answer to it. It's 57% against the spread over the last 1,150 NBA and college basketball releases combined. That was something I just looked up this morning. So, at the pace that you and I are running at, which is in the 70% level, we want it to be sustainable, but realistically, we're going to hopefully have a drop off. But the idea, we're so close to the end of the season, we want to just like sprint right through the finish line, like that Kentucky Derby winner. That's how we want to end this NBA season, because then it ends and there is no expected drop off because we don't start for another 8 months and we start fresh. So I think that's a very good point that Dave brings up. I've been doing this for 27 years. It kind of tells you how old I am, and I wouldn't be doing these shows, and SportsMemo wouldn't be endorsing our shows either, Ronald, if we weren't really good at what we do. So thanks for the question, Dave, and let's go on to the best bet segment of the show. And I'm going to lead off here, Ronald, because I have the angle of the day, and this angle actually will be on the NBA tip-off show at 4:15 Eastern Standard Time today on Wager Talk. So, check out that show as well. I believe Rob Vino and Tony Finn are the guests with, I think actually Ski might be the guy, but I'm not sure on that. But I think the other two I mentioned will be joining host Joe Ranieri for that awesome show. And this betting system has gone very well. 39-13 against the spread for 75% on the first half line NBA regular and playoff seasons over the last 20 of them. 8-1 against the number the last 5 seasons. You're going to bet on favorites. This case, Golden State 2 to 3.5 points using the first half line. Matchup of teams winning 60 to 70% of their games. The host is coming off a road loss, but covered the spread, which Memphis did. And there you have it. That's all there is to it. And then this has a very, very strong P value, which tells you that those 3 parameters work very well together, that it's not just randomness or backfilling, that they really are meaningful in their own right and in combination with each other. And Tony Finn has always told me, don't call it the P test, because that sounds like a restroom situation. I should call it the JR value. So maybe that's what we should do, Ronald, or we could call it the RC value as well. But the p value is, I mean, it has a reason why it's called the p value. But I get it. I get it. So that's my best bet. The first half total. There was a question here in the chat room too about the totals. Last night I gave out the 215, 209.5, 206.5 with the Suns game. And that was a game where we kind of like the market is doing right now, where you try to catch that falling knife and it doesn't work so well. And catching the falling knife was the in-game part of that game, where it started out slow and it never really caught any legs, and it finished what was it, under 200. So the bet, that total bet lost. So in this game, we repeat the process. It's rinse and repeat. And we have a total of basically the same number, and 209.5, 25%, 20, this in this case 205.5, because we're expecting greater volatility with this game between Golden State and Memphis, but 50% pre-flop. And the betting line right now, I don't think is where I just said it. Let's just make sure that we have the right line here for the information. Let's see. We got Golden State Memphis right now is 219. Okay, so that's going to shift everything just a little bit. So we're looking at 219, 50% pre-flop, and then 212 is 25%, 209.5 is the other 25%. So that's the live in-game betting strategy. And again, paper trade this. That means you don't have any money. You just, you watch the live in-game lines, and this way you get used to doing it. It takes a while to get used to it, because when you put these bets in, as Ronald knows, it can feel pretty weird. It feels like sometimes you're doing the worst thing you could possibly doing, and that was the case last night. But when I've done it so much now that it's routine. But number one thing, if you learn anything from me on these shows, is when you do the in-game betting, you must have a plan before the game starts. You can't get into the game and then, oh my God, I made a bad bet on the Suns, and then try to hedge it by betting the other team. You're going to end up losing double the money that you started with more times than not, because of the volatility of the game that's inherent in the NBA. And that's all I'm going to say for now.